Hello, Scott. How is it going? Basically, I was telling you before we were rolling that I just had you on because I just wanted to talk to you because I was like, I just wanted to catch up. But also, I mean, you guys do like are really interesting work, so we could talk about that. But before any of that, before we talk about anything boring and work related, what board games are you playing lately? Because I know you. Are in that realm. Anything good lately?
I'm like the pandemic killed so much of my board gaming like habits because just there's no way to get
Mm-hmm.
together. But I did get my Gloomhaven group going back up again.
Oh, nice, nice.
We're playing that on Saturdays via Tabletop Simulator and having a grand old time.
What class do you play?
I retired a Cragheart, which I wasn't enjoying, and now I'm a spoiler the Angry Mask.
Okay, okay, cool, cool. I play, and well, it's been such a long time since I've played, but an Enox Brute,
Oh, that's a
like
good
just a
class.
big. It's absolutely my sensibilities. Just smash things, tank things. Just that's my jam.
Did you ever finish that campaign?
No, so the plan is once things are safe again, which for me is gonna be pretty soon. Like I, so it's gonna be an interesting thing because it's been about like what over a year since we've played, and also one of the players has since moved away. So it's gonna be this thing where I think I'm gonna bring in a new player. Like it's gonna be me, my wife, and then probably bring in a new player and kind of like RP that. Like it's like, hey, it's like this group that was together. Some of the members came back together to finish this job or something like that.
Yeah.
I think, and like one of we're not gonna go back to the beginning because we got like a third of the way through, right? Like 30 dungeons. That's like way too much to like start over.
Right.
So I kind of am interested to be like bring in a friend who doesn't have any I because actually we don't really remember what we did either. So it's gonna be kind of just like this almost in in movies where it's like all these adult friends who were childhood friends come back after 30 years and it's like like It or something, right? And it's like we're gonna have to rediscover what the hell we were doing in this Gloomhaven campaign. I feel like that's kind of gonna be like the direction of it. But I will say, I think before we even do that, to kind of teach my friend how to play, are you familiar with Jaws of the Lion?
I've
The
heard of that and I've been super interested in like checking that out, but
Yeah, it's like it's Gloomhaven where it teaches you how to play, and it uses the book as like the map, which I hear is incredible. Like no setup, just like you flip a
oh,
page, that's the map. All the things are on there, and you just you put your pieces on the pages of the big book, which I hear is awesome because I'm the guy who always has to set that shit up in person.
literally the downside to Gloomhaven is the setup. Like that's
Setup and teardown is a lot. Yes. So I think we're gonna probably run through that first, and then back into Gloomhaven because I am determined. I'm determined to finish it. I will not let that game be unfinished. And I have so many other legacy games as well, but to jump into. But I gotta at least start the Gloomhaven momentum going again before I can even consider doing things like I don't think you understand, Scott. I have a massive pile of
no,
games.
I've seen your massive pile. I'm like, you get new ones for review, and I'm like, oh no, someone got a new game because I know you're a completionist.
Those aren't even ones I have to review. Those are ones I'm buying like for the release when I get to release myself or not even release myself, open my doors, which I believe I've said this to you, but we should absolutely play games together sometime.
I
I
know
know you're a busy man,
we have a lot in
but
common. It's so crazy.
yeah, we definitely need to play games. Like, we'll talk about that afterwards. For me, it's been mainly Board Game Arena. I've been playing a lot of Board Game
What
Arena,
is that?
which I'm. It is a website where, unlike Tabletop Simulator, where you're moving stuff around like in the 3D space, Board Game Arena pretty much like runs the game for you. Like it's all programmed into the interface of like a browser interface. It's free. Everybody like if one person has a paid account, which I do, everyone can play all the games. They have stuff as heavy as Terra Mystica and as simple as Yahtzee.
So it's almost like scripted. It's like, because like Tabletop Simulator has a lot of scripts you can put in, and the Gloomhaven one's amazing, by the way. But the you're basically just automating all that, like card shuffling, all that kind of stuff.
It's entirely, every single game on the website is scripted. Ooh. Yeah, it's really good. We should do that sometime as well, like, because that's been the majority, like, and it's also been nice to play like with people who don't live in my area. Like, I have friends in, like, I have a very good friend who lives in Australia, and like, you know, I have friends in all over the country where we've been able to just sort of meet and play these games. But they have, every time I talk about this, I say I sound like I'm sponsored by them. I'm not. I wish I was. But it's like, I think they got like 200 games, and it's a really good selection, and they're adding games like every couple weeks.
That's amazing.
They just added like 2 new games. Like it's, and I played this like on Sunday. So since Sunday, they have added 2 more games. Asmodee just bought them, which is, I think, a pretty telling sign of how big and successful, because of pandemic, this site like exploded in popularity, because people like me came, and to their credit, like they weathered the burst. Like there were maybe a couple server issues in the beginning, but now it's running like I have rarely had like any like actual like killed games or anything. Like it runs really, really well.
I bet a sponsorship could be arranged, man. You should check that out.
I honestly, it's like I've given them so much free publicity on this podcast, because, oh god, the listeners like, he's talking about this again. Yes, this is my podcast. I can do whatever I want. Like, it's either on this or like on other podcasts. It's such a good website. Like, I've only used Tabletop Simulator like once or twice, but this is where I play my games. I have been playing my games for the past year. It's been nice. So, like, with while I could and would like to talk about board games for the entire hour, why don't we just kind of like, what is your official role? Like, what is your official like job title? Why don't you give us like, for those of you for the listeners who aren't maybe not aware, like, what is your job title and what are your responsibilities? What do they entail?
I am the senior localization producer for RGG Studios at Sega. And it's a really broad title because it's a lot of broad stuff that I have to do. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like the easiest way to explain it is, well, I'm responsible for taking the game from Japanese and putting it in English, and then it ships. But like, there's a lot of things in between that like are part of that process, right? Like the localization effort, the voice recording effort, then the editing effort, the QA effort. Like, I oversee all of that, and, you know, and it's all done in phases, of course, but it's a massive undertaking, to be sure. And I don't feel like saying that, well, I just make it English, you just press the button. It doesn't do it a lot of justice.
Yeah. This is not just me sucking up to you, but the localization effort on Yakuza is incredible. Like, just the fucking Mahjong guide alone, I'm like, this is incredible. And I feel like, you know, if this were, I don't know, like 10 years before, they're like, cut the Mahjong. Nobody wants to play Mahjong. But I'm like, I want to play Mahjong. I don't want any cut material. So it's like, it's thanks to your blood, sweat, and tears that I get to feel like I know how to play Mahjong in Yakuza 0 and get every Mahjong achievement, because I adored Yakuza 0. Like, I think I told you I 100%ed it.
Yeah,
right?
incredible. Like that's not an easy feat. A lot of people get to the Mahjong or the shogi and they're like, I'm out.
The Mahjong, for me, the one that was brutal, I forget what it's called. Maybe you know offhand, but it's the one where it's luck based. So it's like you have to just draw the right one. Oh, what is it? It's like
the sumos?
No. There's like a specific. It's like this configuration. Oh, no. It's like the hardest one.
Yeah,
it's the hardest one. I forget the name of it, but it was It basically boiled down to just, oh my god, I have the exact things and I have to randomly draw this. I want to look it up. So it was comparable to, like, I 100%ed Dragon Quest 11. And there's like casino shit in that.
Yep.
Where it's like, oh, you literally just have to draw a royal flush, or you literally have to like just roll the jackpot on a slot machine.
Yeah, they had the whole it's like a patchy slot thing just like happening in that game, and it's amazing that it's also, I couldn't believe what they were asking players to do. Not that we're not guilty of
I
the
did
same.
it. Oh man, is it? Maybe it's Hanuman.
Hanuman. Yeah.
Yeah, Hanuman. I think that was the one that was like, it's a super high. It's like 3,000 points or something. Oh, it was tough. It was tough, but I did it. I did not do it in the next one because I was like, I already did that. I don't need to do that. I proved to myself I could do it. But yeah, so the localization effort in the games, and then I will say I've been fortunate enough to be in like Judgment and the new Yakuza game, and I will say your scripts are like butter. They're like so well written that it's just like a pleasure to like read them. Like that's not always the case in this job, I will say. Like sometimes when stuff is like localized or translated, there's some pretty janky translations that I've had to like maybe record in my lifetime. But your guys' shit, man, the love and the natural flow of it is definitely I can see it there.
That's super appreciated, man. You don't get to hear that very often from the actors because you come in, you do the reads, the director's like, okay, bye, and then it's just like you don't get to like really, you don't get to really talk to the actors as much as you'd kind of hope sometimes,
Yeah, like it was kind of nice. I think the last time in person we like got to see each other. We got to have like a little bit of like a lunch. I don't know if you remember this.
Right, after like a dragon.
Or like just like a little bit of like a lunch together, and we talked about Disneyland, which I'll get to that at some point during the podcast. But I remember you were talking about the OG music for, was it Space Mountain?
Oh my god, bring back the nighttrack.com.
Yeah, so I was like, this guy gets it. This guy, we need to talk some more. Like with the board games and the Disneyland, it's like there's so much crossover here. But before we get into more what I want to indulge in, which is Disneyland and board games, because I'm actually also genuinely interested, like in like sort of your career path, like where you started. So like, how did you get into where like the industry and where like to where you are now? Like, what's the sort of like journey that was?
I was 26. I had just completed my English teaching credential. And I was not a great English teacher. I'm just going to say that straight up. Like high school kids like, took it out of me, like I didn't feel like I had the command or the presence necessary to rule over high school kids. Right. And so, you come out of a teaching credential program and you're poor as hell. Like, because you've been paying for 2 years of school. And on top of that, you were working full time for free. So it was that summer. I'm broke and I'm playing this PS2 game called Magna Carta. Have you ever heard of that?
I know of it. I think I haven't played it, but there's a second one too. Yeah,
there's
right?
a sequel that Namco Bandai did, and I'm like something because I hadn't really branched out from like my Final Fantasies and like big AAA JRPGs, and I'm playing this kind of like low ender JRPG, and I'm like, this is weirdly translated. I wonder who did this, and I look it up, and I'm like, it's Atlas, and they're in my backyard, and I'm like, I should just go work for them. I could do this.
Yeah.
So I applied as both an editor and a QA tester, and I got the QA tester job, and that was back in 2007. And the journey over, what is this, almost 15 years now, just becoming more ingrained into the localization process. I did 4 years at Atlas, worked on Persona, worked on a number of different SMT titles. And then I went to level 5 as sort of a semi-localization producer, worked on Ni no Kuni and all these little 3DS games from famous Japanese creators. And then I went to did a marketing stint at Square Enix for about 2-3 years. And finally Sega called me, and Sega and Atlas are very close, if not the same thing. Mm-hmm. And they're like, hey, we're building a team. And
we're building an elite squad,
right? And they're like, we've got this thing called Yakuza, and at the time I had no idea what that was or what even was going on with that franchise, and I just thought it was Japanese GTA. And I went over just to like, guess I'll just I won't be passionate about this, but I'll just kind of get into it. And then the day one they hand me this stack of Yakuza games from PS2 and on, and they're like, do this. So I had beaten, the critical path mostly, like 5 Yakuza games in 3 months, and
Oh shit.
I was like in it. I was like, this is not Japanese GTA. This is an incredible series that has been absolutely underappreciated for God knows how many years, and just mishandled internally beyond,
Yeah, yeah.
beyond my time. And it's been really, really rewarding and cool to have been at the kind of the ground floor of Yakuza Zero's resurgence back into the West, and being where we are now, where it's like Yakuza Like a Dragon with, God, what is it? 7, 8 languages, 5 platforms. Like, I can't even.
Wow. Yeah, no, it makes me really happy to hear, like, because, like, I have a friend, for example, who, like, really was not interested in Yakuza because he has a big distaste for, like, the GTA, like, oh, you're, like, hurting, like, innocent people, like, and whatever. Like, he's just not into that sort of game. Like, and I was like, no. You can't hurt this. Like, no, that's not what this game is about. This game is about you are like the purest man. you are the purest, strongest man, and you want to help everybody, but also beat the shit out of thugs. Like, you're only beating up bad guys, and like it's kind of like you're like a powerless superhero, just going around and like. And I also was like, the story's really good, but it has a sense of humor, and I love that balance as well. And then he played Yakuza 0. He loved it. He was like, yeah, oh no, okay, you were right. This was exactly like, because I think that is what, like, a lot of people have the perception of it, and I'm not super familiar with how the original PS2 game was marketed, but it kind of felt like that's how they were.
Exactly
That
what they were
angle.
going for. They're just like, yeah, we're the Japanese GTA, and they leaned into it hard, and we're still crawling out of that hole. Like, I would demo Yakuza 0, and people would come up and be like, how do I punch the civilians? I'm like, you don't.
Yeah. Why would you want to,
This
man?
might not be the
Here
game
you would
for
never
you if
do
you
that.
just want to go around punching civilians.
Exactly. Like, so it's great to see that, like, because it was always a series that I was, like, interested in. And then, but it was like, I don't know about you, but I'm the type of person where it's like, oh, but the first 2 are PS2 and in English, but the 3 and 4 and onward are in different Japanese. And it's like, where do I start? Like, I always want to start at the start, and then Yakuza 0, and then the remakes, and I'm like, thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Finally got it all in
This
one
is
place.
exactly, this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted, like, I still need to play, I haven't played the second one yet.
Kiwami 2?
Kiwami 2.
Oh, yeah.
I have all of them. They're literally sitting right here, too. But, like, I think I told you I beat Kiwami, and the night I beat Kiwami, as the credits were rolling, I was told I got the email that I was going to be in Like a Dragon. Did I tell you this? Yeah. Like, I was like, it's a miracle. it's destiny. So, like, I still have yet to play Kiwami 2, because for me, as I've kind of detailed before, like, if I play a game like that, I go hard. Like, right now I'm playing Hades, and I've been. Did you get into Hades?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you? How much did you play?
To the end. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a.
Sure.
There's like a a thing.
Yeah. Did you get all the achievements?
No, I can't handle. I guess once you start to did you get to the limiters? Those things that like make it harder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Pact of Punishment.
Yes, I can't handle those. I'm like, oh, it's just too hard.
I see. So I've been playing. I think I started maybe 2 weeks ago. I've logged in about 75 hours, and I have 43 of 49 achievements unlocked.
Holy
so I have
moly.
6 left.
Dude, you're a monster.
That's the thing. It's like, I can't let myself play a game like that unless I'm really like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. Like, I have some time, and because if, like, for Kiwami 2, like, in fact, a friend and I are like, we should play around the same time, and like, so that we can like talk about it and play kind of like in tandem, which we also kind of did with Hades. But like, once I crack open that Pringles can of Kiwami 2, it's gonna be, that's all I'm gonna be doing. Like, goodbye socialization, goodbye sleep. Like, I'm usually pretty good about sleeping. It's like, how about some more Hades runs? How about some Hades runs? That's exactly like my. For me, it's either short little indie games. Like I really enjoyed, like, I don't know if you're familiar with like Tacoma or Her Story, or those are some games I played recently that are like 1 or 2 hours and they're really good, just really good storytelling. It's either I like bite-sized games, or here's just a giant feast and you can get everything and do everything, and it's going to consume your life for the next 100 hours.
You're absolutely right to space those kinds of games out then.
Yes, but I don't know. I like, now as we're talking about Yakuza and I'm literally looking at my copy of Kiwami 2 here, I'm like, oh, maybe it's time. Maybe it's calling. We'll see. It's calling my name, and I have the remastered collection right underneath it. I'm like, oh, it's tempting. So now, you, since you were playing Magna Carta, obviously you're a big fucking nerd too. So
massive nerd.
So I would like to know, is it only video games, or are you into anime as well, or like what's like the spectrum of your nerdy interests?
Video games are like
board games, obviously.
Yeah, video games and board games are like the jam for me. But I'll watch like the occasional anime where someone will be like, "This is really good. You need to watch this." And like I have a whole list of anime that people have told me is really good and I need to watch. But
sure,
like Phoenix Wright, like we got absolutely consumed by that anime. My wife bought randomly like Princess Jellyfish, and I'm like, this is actually pretty good.
That one's great. Yeah.
Or like we'll catch a random like I think the last one I watched was Your Name, and I'm like, this is incredible and sad and amazing. Just like, so it's like my anime watching is super intermittent, but when I do watch it, I try to make it like count. If that makes sense.
No, yeah, sure. And so it's more like JRPGs are like where you get into like because I mean, again, Magna Carta, like,
yeah, right, yeah, JRPGs are my bread. That's the bread and butter. Like every Final Fantasy ever known to man I've done, and Persona and Valkyria Chronicles here, like I do them all.
yeah. Valkyria Chronicles, I love Valkyria Chronicles. What is your favorite Final Fantasy game?
6, naturally. That's like the one that was the most formative for me, because that was, I think it landed when I was in middle school, and you're just like, oh my god, they're talking about like death, and like,
yeah,
the themes are incredible, and just all these different characters with all their own motivations and abilities, and not just, I mean, I've beaten 6 probably 20 times.
Damn, that's a glaring blind spot for me. I've never played it. I need to, I know, but I've played in the Final Fantasy lineup. I've played, or beaten anyway, 1, 2, 4, 7, 9, 10, 10, 2, 12, 13.
That's admirable.
Those are what
those are some titles.
I had 3 on my phone, and I got really far, and then there was this horrible dungeon, and I haven't gone back to it. I should at some point. Like, I don't know if you remember, but there's a dungeon that has like no save points, and it's like really, really long.
Right.
And I got really far, and then I died, and I was like, I'm gonna put this away.
I don't tell too many people this, but I'm playing Final Fantasy 11 right now, like the old MMO, and it's basically now like this ghost town and it's like a single player game that you can just like do all the things that I used to be able to do when I played it back as an MMO, like solo, because you can summon party members that just act as AI, and it's incredible to just go through this. It's like reliving part of my past, because that was my first MMO. I got sucked into it, spent like 6 months of actual life like playing that game, and just reliving it now as like a casual, but also just like exploring it is surreal.
That's cool. So I didn't know it was still up. Are there other players? Like, I mean, I'm sure there are, but like, is it like how many other players do you see, like when you play like a regular run of it?
I'm not playing on like the crowded server, which is, there's like one server that all the people are like, this is the server to play on because this is where the people are. But I'm playing on this random server, and there's still probably like 200 people logged in at any given time. So if you're in like one of the main city hubs, there's people, and you're like, wow, there's just all these high level players just running around like still actively participating in this game. But then if you go off into like some of the earlier like levels or dungeons and such, like you're the only one there. You can go find the NMs that people used to camp and grab with their bots because it was so, lucrative to get them. You can just grab that NM now and like kill it, and it's so rewarding.
Interesting. And is the game still being updated?
Yeah, they do little updates on like login bonuses and things like that.
Whoa.
They do treat it like it's essentially like a legacy product, but it's not abandoned.
That's so interesting. Okay. I mean, I assume you play 14 then as well, or
Yes.
what?
I put that one down between patches mostly because I'm so terrible at all the raids. Like I go in and I'm like people. The meme is like the lol dragoon, and that's absolutely me. The floor tank, just dead 90% of the time.
Yeah, I have friends who are obviously very into 14. I feel like I can't let myself get into MMOs because you see how I am with single player games.
Yeah, that's like, dangerous, bro.
Yeah. Even something like Monster Hunter, I'm like, I hear about like all the you can like level up all these, and I'm like,
that's the Monster Hunter is like kind of like the poster child for where games are trying to go with this like games as a service, these games that never truly end kind of deal, and then you just hop onto the next one when they update. But it's like I get the absolute push to try to keep players involved in your game, but boy, you can only handle so many of those, and before you just have to start picking and choosing,
Yeah, pretty much. And then for me, it's like, well, you know what? Instead of MMOs, I'll just spend all my money on board games instead. At least, hey, I get to see people in person. Well, I thought anyway, but for the past year, not so much. But it'll be nice to get that going again.
Totally.
What is your favorite video game? Is it Final Fantasy VI or what?
Yeah, I think that's probably like the one that stands out to me as being like the fave.
What are some of your other favorites?
Super Castlevania 4. Like most of the stuff that's like my favorites are come from like that era of like Super Nintendo, just being comfortable in my room playing games. I used to come home and play Castlevania 4 before I did my homework. And my rule was if I died, I had to do my homework. And I got to the point where I could beat that game in one life.
You're like, I just don't want it. Let me, I gotta. That adds I love that level of like attention of like, you can't die because otherwise you have to stop. Oh, that's great. I love hearing stories like that. Did you have any other titles that like spring to mind?
The Metal Gear series. Oh man, yeah. There's. You know how someone's asking like what you can think of like 10 million different favorite games, but when someone's like, "What's your favorite game?" You're just like, "There's like a lot."
There's a lot of them. I promise you, I play them. Now, I like to give the guests an opportunity. If you would like to, is there a topic that you would like to bring up, or a question for me, or anything like that? If not, don't worry about it.
No, I mean, there's some Sungwon-isms I'm curious about, like.
Sure.
Like when you make all those videos of like you trying like 20 different flavors of things, right?
Yes.
What is it like when you go to the store and you come into this cashier with like 20 bags of Cheetos?
So when I first did those, that was pre-pandemic. So yeah, I would go into the store and do it. And usually, honestly, like they wouldn't bat an eye.
Wow.
Like they would I think they were just like whatever. Like either they knew what I was trying to do, which is like, oh, he's probably throwing some kind of party where they try all the things. It's like a party of one, baby. A party of one. And it ends in misery usually half the time. But lately it's just like been an Instacart thing. So like, which has made things much easier. You just go on the site and just click the things. And then naturally sometimes they just can't find every single thing. So you don't get everything, but you still get pretty much most of it. Once it's like fine to go back in stores regularly, it's going to be an interesting, like, do I go back in? Like, because there is something you kind of miss out, because with Instacart, you basically have to pick one store. But I know from experience that, like, for example, this store will have some that the other store doesn't have. Even if it's one or two, like, variations.
100%.
It's like, yeah, if you want 100% it's like you kind of have to do at least 2 stores. So, we'll see. There is the convenience of like just bam, it's at your doorstep. Here's all these fucking terrible LaCroix that you have to drink for the next.
What's the LaCroix joke? Is like the ghost of fruit that kissed it.
It's the ghost of like it's like you're whispering a fruit in the other room, like that sort of thing. I'm drinking one right now. We are on our last box because I've said this on the podcast before. We don't waste any of the food. It's none of it gets thrown away. It is either eaten or given away. It is. I would not make these videos if we just like threw that shit out. Like that to me is. I'm a very big like don't waste food, like that sort of thing.
That's rad.
So with LaCroix though, and with because usually what's been nice is in the past. I usually have guests over for like board games, so it's like, hey, here's a bunch of snacks. Just eat whatever snacks you want. You want to take some home with you, but that hasn't been a thing during this. So it's gone to like, fuck, we have to drink this LaCroix. And Anne Marie, my wife, likes LaCroix fine. I have just grown to go, okay, it's like water. It's just perfume water. Just drink it. Just drink it. So I'm drinking one right now. I'm drinking watermelon, which I don't like at all, but I'm drinking it. I just drink it with every meal. I just drink it. I drink it. I drink it. I drink it. I cannot wait. I think we only have a couple cans left, and then because that's when I do the next video. It's like, okay, the all of the previous one of the food is gone. Okay, I will buy the next one. Otherwise, it would also just be too much like space, right? Like having just all these bags and shit everywhere. It's like, okay, you get through all of it, then you bring in the next one, which the next one will be a relief. Thank God. But oh boy. But yeah, that's sort of the process of those videos. Are you a LaCroix fan?
We're more of a Perrier family around here.
Okay. I should maybe do like one where I like try all the different sparkling waters or something. Like that could be kind of an interesting like a ranking of those. I'm just not a sparkling water person at all. Like
I didn't really used to be either, and like just yeah. But someone I didn't. This is embarrassing to admit, but I was at like a fancy restaurant and I ordered water and they're like, still, and I'm like, what's the alternative? I'm like, what I think I must have somehow ordered the sparkling, and I'm like, oh, it was just sparkling water, and like because of that experience, I've now like associated sparkling water with fancy.
Yes, I would have the sparkling water, like diamonds. That's funny. Like I associate it with metal taste and bad. That's what I associate it with. There's one variety that's I feel like wait, does this one even count? It's not even like sparkling water. Is it Crystal something like? What the hell?
Crystal Light? Like that's lemonade, right?
No, not Crystal Light. It's maybe it's not called Crystal. It's the one they're like tall bottles. They're like zero sugar, like carbonated. They're not juice.
Are you talking about the ice? Ice?
Yeah, ice. What are they called? Ice.
They're just ice, and I drink those like religiously.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes, ice. Yeah. But that's not sparkling water, right? That's more.
Those have flavors. Those have legit flavor in them. It's almost
those are great.
Yeah, it's almost like a diet soda without the diet soda taste.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, I love when they have flavor. Like if they have something to enjoy, like so because I had grown up, every now and then drinking one of those and be like, oh yeah, like. These are great. Like they taste really good, and there's even though there's like no sugar. And then I remember I was at like I think a friend's or something, and they were like, "Oh man, have you had LaCroix? It's great." I was like, "Oh boy, yeah." And you look at the can, and it looks so colorful and fun. And you're like, "Oh, I bet this is gonna taste great." And then you taste it, and it's like, what is this? Like it's just metal nothing. Oh boy. So. That was like my first experience with it, and it hasn't really improved much. I will say I don't despise it. Like I'm drinking it right now. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. But it's like I kind of would rather just have water.
Fair.
Like I like water. I don't know, but Yeah, not to get on my LaCroix soapbox. Now, so during during the past year, besides let's say board games, has there been anything else that you've been doing in your free time?
I've worked so much over the past year,
Ah, yeah.
and
I imagine it's like fucking crazy for you.
yeah,
So
and
probably
these
not.
games are
But
they're so like back to back, a grueling process. But
mm,
you know, it's it's tough. It's tough to have hobbies in the
yeah,
pandemic plus like work.
plus work.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Playing video games has been like the only escape from all that.
I get the sense, even despite it being very grueling, that you seem, from my perspective, you seem to love your job. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like there's so much love and passion for this series and this product. It's absolutely drives me to be like make the next one
Mm.
better, figure out how to do it better, figure out the process a little faster. You know, people are always just like you know, what's next for you guys? What's next for you guys? And you can't stay still, you know?
Yeah. What are your favorite parts of the job? Like the moments of like, oh man, this is either maybe like pure fun or just pure satisfaction. Like what are your the favorite aspects of it?
See,
Like
this
where
the
it's like,
producer's not supposed to be like down into the scripts, like checking stuff. You know, like we have editors
mm-hmm.
and translators for that who are the people who are supposed to be writing it. But I have I don't know very high standards and very almost OCD about it kind of senses sometimes. And I don't know that when I go through their work and just start making changes and tweaks and things and like that I'm actually making it better so much as making it mine. And that's what I wrestle with. But when I do get to sit and just like localize text, just forget about all the pressures of the budgets and the schedules and the money and all that kind of stuff and just get to localize a script and bring that to a studio and have an actor read it or you know see it on screen under the character and realize how well it fits and just see the English come to life in any way. That's what I've always loved about this job.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, it really shows like through the finished product. Now you know because Yakuza and Judgment, like these games have so many like you know scenes of like you know tough guys talking. Do you draw inspiration from like are there any specific source materials like that you like have sort of inspired the dialogue you think or not just the dialogue but the style of the writing
Maybe there was at first, but like you know for Zero and things like that where I feel like there was a little bit of Pulp Fiction in it.
yeah
But the I don't know, over time it's become its own thing. It's become its own like ways. I don't know, it's something about like the writing style that's just like, well, that's that trademark Yakuza kind of thing, you know, and it's like something that the devs get, it's something that we get, and we're all on kind of like the same wavelength. And it feels great when that happens, when, you know, they do one of those like ridiculous scenes and we just nail it on our side, they nail it on their side. And I don't know, just something pretty magical about that.
yeah like it's such there is such a specific sort of tone even to the way characters talk that is so enjoyable to me. Like it feels natural, but it's fun, but it's you know it's grounded though. Like there's a grounded nature to it that like a lot of I think not a lot of it some other like localized stuff just doesn't have, where other stuff will just feel like too maybe too much, you know. I think you know what makes these games and also the scripts work so well is just that there's always a grounded nature, whether it's the main story, whether it's the writing or the dialogue. But I never am like, because I think some people even go to the opposite direction, where like, oh, it's just a big joke series, right? Like it's just about the, and it's like, oh no, like there is like real emotion and real drama like in these games, and like Zero like has like some chilling moments, some really chilling stuff, like some really like a friend of mine who like never like is like very rarely cries like, yeah, that game got me to cry, like just like you know stuff like that, you know. It's gripping, like you know if it you know my Anne Marie, my wife, would just like watch me play Zero from time to time, and she would just sit down and because it's like it just becomes like a really gripping show. And then I would play the cabaret game for like, and she's like, all right, I'm going to take off. Like, oh, you know, like, meanwhile, I'm just like, I want to be a girl here doing that for like,
that was in my ears for like 3 weeks straight. Just localizing it.
Like getting to hear that, like, from the bedroom as I'm playing like the cabaret game, like, for like into the dark hours of the night. Oh man. Fuck! I need to play Kiwami too. Oh man.
Oh man.
Maybe I'll crack it open after Hades. We'll see. Oh god.
Looking forward to your thoughts.
Productivity. I'm so excited because like I have several friends who are like way ahead. Like they've been playing like the Yakuza games for a while, and I'm like, I want to be that. It's like I look at this stack and I go, I want to have played all of them, and like Like a Dragon comes out, I'm like, I want to play it, but even though it's its own like game, I still want to play them in order first. Like that's
admirable, man. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's more just like me just having the willpower. So yeah, at some and then Judgment, like even like I still haven't played Judgment. Like that's also like. I'm like, okay, when do you think, like, if I'm playing them not chronological, but yeah, Kiwami 2, 3, 4, 5, is there, like, a slot where I should put Judgment, or does it not matter at all?
Release order, so after 6.
Okay, so 6, Judgment, and then Like a Dragon.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Because they always take place in the year that they're set.
Oh,
or the year that they come out is the year that they're set.
That is actually really interesting. I didn't really think about that. Damn, that's cool. I'm literally looking at this cover right now. And I'm like, I know this blonde guy. I mean, you don't say anything because I don't want to know anything. But he appeared, I think, in Zero. I think he might have appeared in Zero, or there might have been a cameo. I remember seeing. I was like, this is clearly something that I don't get, but I can't wait to get it one day. Like this is something. Oh man. Why don't we change gears for a bit, because it was something I kind of mentioned before, Disneyland. Yeah, let's kind of do a little Disneyland talk. Like with the park is like starting to reopen, which is so weird. Like I've missed it so much, but I forget. Were you an annual pass holder?
Yes. Well, yes and no.
Well, yeah. I was as well, and so for me, I'm kind of like waiting for when that comes back in some form, because it will. Like, there's no doubt about it. They will have something like that. But like, let's say it's safe and you get to go ride whatever you want. What's the first ride you do, or first thing you do? It doesn't have to be a ride. The first thing you're doing when you are safely allowed back in the park.
So we have tickets, actually. My wife could not be dissuaded from being like, because this was like if we get fully vaccinated, we can go, because she's terrified of shots, honestly, and just like she needed some motivation to be able to go through 2 of them. And Disneyland was it's more her jam than mine, and I fully support as best I can. So there's times that Disney as a company gets in my way of enjoying Disney as a land.
Sure.
But so once we are fully vaccinated, we're going. And for me though, that ride that you were talking about, the first thing I want to do is always Space Mountain. Space Mountain's my jam.
Do you want to give your spiel about the music real quick?
If you don't mind. Yeah. If you don't mind. Okay.
Yes,
so
please.
Space Mountain didn't always have a music track, and back in like the early days, it didn't have anything. But they eventually added one, and it was this. It was by a guy named Dick Dale. He's like a surf legend, surfing. Like he's a lot of his music actually is going back to Pulp Fiction. He did most of the soundtrack for that. If you ever hung around any surfers, you've heard Dick Dale, and it's this like almost like this weird like surfing through space electronic guitar shredding awesome song, right? And that just made the experience for me. I was like, this is the best, because it's time to the ride. It's got all these like these, it's that little drop, just that weird, and it's just like this guitar goes down, like this is shredding, and then they closed down Space Mountain for refurbishment, and they introduce what's called the day track. So in their grand scheme of things, they kept the Dick Dale track as the night track, and then they introduced some new kind of spacey, more thematically appropriate song into the ride.
Yeah.
And they're doing this thing where they like switch it over at night, but I don't think they implemented it very well because it was constantly breaking down when they would switch the music tracks. It was constantly breaking down to begin with, and like I have no evidence to back up the fact that it was the music track causing this, but you can tell by the time of day that it would break down that it was probably being caused by this like switchover that they were having to do. And so eventually they just shit can the night track, and to this day almost no one remembers that it exists because all you've got now is the one music track that you hear when you go on Space Mountain, which was known to me as the day track. And all I want in life, I want like a limited edition. It can be limited, it can be anything. Bring back the night track.com. If I could quit my job and just do nothing, I would literally start a grassroots campaign and a website called bringbackthenighttrack.com.
Have you considered or tried like putting it on like a music player, putting headphones on and riding the ride that way?
I have absolutely considered that. I just don't know that I could time it right, because it has to be, you'd have to know exactly when to press play. And because if you
just have to do a couple test runs, right?
You
have to ride it enough times with the headphones. See, I think you're just not passionate enough.
Oh my god!
I think you need to have, you could put headphones on and you could ride it 100 times or whatever until you get the timing right.
Now I have these noise canceling ones, and I might actually have a better shot with that.
Ooh, so that would be like a funny project. Like, have you seen that video of? It's I don't know if you're familiar with Barats and Beretta. They were like a comedy duo on YouTube. But there's a video. What is it? The video is just called "I went on Splash Mountain 17 times," and it's just. I'll link it to you. The video is just this. Like, you can literally watch this right now. It's like 9 seconds long. I put it in the chat, but like just watch that real quick. Like,
that's it.
For listeners, it's a day well spent. Barats and Beretta. And it's just him. He went on Space Mountain 17 times, took the photo every time, and then synced his mouth movements, quote unquote, with the photos, and just him saying, "I went on Space Mountain 17 times." And that could be you with this project. You could ride Space Mountain.
You're right. I don't need Disneyland. I don't need them to do it. I just need to take matters into my own hands.
And then it'd be great because it's like you bring your noise canceling headphones like when you ever go to Disney, and then you just put them on your friend. Don't explain it to your friends. Your friend's like, "What? What are you doing?" And you give them headphones and their own music player, and then you just do a countdown, a silent countdown with your fingers, and just press play. And that can just be you slowly indoctrinating people and showing them the experience. Because the way you describe this to me, I want to like experience. Because you showed me the track, and I'm like, it is a good track, and I want to see what it's like riding the ride. Oh god, now I'm just going like, what if you took they have the YouTube footage of like a first person somebody riding the ride. What if you took like the video, took the audio, tried to sync it? You could do that. make a fucking AMV, make a music video of just like, where is the sync point so that when I go there, listen, Scott, I don't know, you seem like you're not that passionate about this. You could be doing the research.
You're absolutely right.
Because you have so much time on your hands. This is what you could be doing. So
my worry is if they've changed so much as a single like shaved a second off the ride somehow with during any number of its previous refurbishments, where if you I don't know if the track has changed in the slightest since the days that it would eventually unsync, and that would be detrimental.
I mean, again, sounds like a quitter talk to me. Because what you would have to do is you would have to go into the composition of the song and remix it slightly at that point, where it would be a seamless transition. Obviously,
you're absolutely right.
The customized all I'm saying, Scott, is you take the original track, customize, edit down for any like refurbishments they've made and future refurbishments they've made, then put that, then study a first person view. And find the sync point, then bring noise canceling headphones and the music player with your customized music track, and then play at the sync point, and then you've got it.
I don't know, work cut out for me, but you're absolutely right.
It's just so simple. So, and it's funny that you say like Disneyland isn't as much your jam, but that's such a specific thing. It's like Disneyland has to be kind of your jam.
I'm like one of those like what marketing would call a lapsed consumer, like someone who has clearly at one point enjoyed it but can't find the spark with it anymore, because like I get absolutely. I love going there with my wife because that's her happy place. She loves being there, and seeing her happy is great. But God, the crowds, it really is just the sheer amount of people that brings me down.
I see. That's totally fair. Yeah, the crowds are pretty bad. I'm wondering what it'll be like post-pandemic, and if they have a new system, if that'll change anything. But I could totally see that. Now, we're almost done here. So cycling kind of back to Yakuza. This is such a generic question, but are there any like interesting tidbits during the production of any of the localizations of the games that like stick out to you? Like this was maybe a weirdly like difficult part to translate that people wouldn't normally think was like difficult, or something to that effect, or just funny, like and any sort of tidbits of like behind the scenes of like you guys have no idea, but this one part took forever, or there was a crazy story behind this scene even though it seems like innocuous, like anything like that.
I have a few go-tos for this, so people who are watching this and who have like heard me interviewed before are going to be like, "Oh my god, he's telling this story again." But
it's okay. They hear me talk about the same shit every episode. It's fine. Like, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so in Like a Dragon, there's a part where Kasuga encounters a English-speaking tourist who says, "Excuse me, can you tell me how to get to the station?" In very like tragically kind of broken English. And in Japanese this makes absolute sense because he's like, "Oh shit, it's English. I don't know what this guy's saying." But when we dubbed it, it's like it's English in English, and it's we had to do something about the fact that it's just like when you're doing a dub of this, that it's not like, why does Kasuga suddenly not understand English? And so we did a number of things with this. We took the tourist and we made him like really over the top, like American tourist, like, "Excuse me, can you tell me?" Because when you're a tourist, like the first thing you think is, if I speak slower, they're clearly going to understand me.
Exactly.
Slower and louder. And so we took that in that direction. And then for Kasuga, played by Keiji, who did an amazing job. He's like, he did the whole like, "Oh shit, it's English," but we changed the animation so that he kind of looks to the camera and does this like kind of fourth wall break where he's like, "We know this is ridiculous," and then turns back to the tourist.
That's great.
It's kind of subtle. Like it didn't like, I think in some of the earlier animations that we'd done, it was actually a little bit more pronounced, but at the end of the day, the joke landed. Like I think people kind of appreciated that we at least made the effort to be like, we understand and are leaning into the fact that this is utterly ridiculous. And it's I don't know. It's something only Yakuza could get away with, I feel like.
Yeah, no, that's great, because like I know that's popped up in other dubs of like anime, like or like manga. Like I remember in Azumanga Daioh, there's like a scene where they like in the original it's like an English speaker, but I think in some variations they're like, "Oh, we're gonna make it Spanish instead, or we're gonna make it like a different." That's
language. The most classically like solution. The localization solution to it is just, we'll just make them French. And right. But with Yakuza, like that tourist could very well come back in the next game and be wearing like a giant American flag, and I'd be like,
yeah,
like the localization butterfly effect would bite me in the ass,
mm-hmm. I'll have to look this up afterwards. Yeah, it's interesting to me, the sort of hoops and solutions you have to like jump through in certain things. And now I guess one last question is, because there's some great like sort of either puns or like really funny, like there is clearly like the localizers had fun with this one line to make it a little more flavorful. Is there like a one line or a couple like just lines that are very much like you're like dear to your heart in terms of the, you know, what you got to write them as?
The I don't take full credit for much of them, because I always kind of like, so the team comes up with things, right? And I can tell when the team's like on the right track or when they're not. And when something's gonna hit, when something is like good, I'm like, yes, you know. And so sometimes they'll come to me with something and be like, we just called it this. I'm like, no, go back, or come up with something better. Put your heads together. And that's how Poundmates was born.
Poundmates. Which one is that again?
In Like a Dragon, the summons. You know, in Japanese they're called delivery help, which is a pun on delivery health, which is a sex service to go.
Oh, okay, all right.
And you know, the funny part is it ends up being these like buff dudes coming out and swinging in stupid crabs and whatnot.
Yeah,
you know, and that pun would be totally lost in the West, because if you don't know what delivery health is, then you're, you know, what does delivery help mean, right? So
yeah,
in the grand tradition of Yakuza and our riffing off of popular apps, you know, we came up with Poundmates, and
that's fucking great,
because it becomes like a service that I won't spoil the sub story, but one of the characters believes that this service is going to provide sex to go, and it turns up being, because it's called Poundmates, and here comes someone looking for a pounding.
Oh my god, I need to. Okay, Kiwami 2, it might be in my future, because just hearing something about Like a Dragon, it's like, oh man, I want to play it, and I know I could just jump to it, but I'm like, oh.
Kiwami 2 is gonna be great for you, because it's the most, I think, one of the most like connected to Zero that that the others just aren't, which is you know, something that everyone knows that we'll be forever living in the shadow of Zero. That's just something we have to accept.
It's like the perfect game. No, and I like that you say that, because it's like, yeah, the games are still great, but it's like, yeah, we knocked it out of the park with that.
So, but this one was very much the developers being like, hey, we know you like Zero, so here you go.
Interesting. Okay. Is Zero your favorite, or do you have a what's your favorite? I know that's hard to choose from your, you know, they're like your children, but do you have a favorite
Zero's the one that like started it all for me, so it's always going to be at the top of the pack. But you know, Kiwami 2 is actually right behind that, because it was also kind of like the end of an era where that was the last one that we had where I didn't have to do fake subtitles, and I didn't have to do dual audio, and I just got to sit there and like craft. And you know, it was like knowing that, you know, we were going to have to go big from there. It was almost like saying goodbye to what I'd known. And so if Zero is like the beginning, then Kiwami 2 is like the end before like phase 2 started.
And favorite character?
Majima.
Yeah, okay, all right, yeah. How could you not, right? Oh man. Well, thank you, man, for sitting down. This has been a delight. Where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter most days as at Trigger Red.
And yeah, like for those of you who have not played the Yakuza games or Judgment, absolutely check them out. They are a goddamn delight. But what is also a goddamn delight was talking to you, man. Thank you.
No, man, thank you. For being awesome being able to just. I'm glad you have a podcast. Like, just being able to be like, I want an excuse to talk to this person, and getting on a podcast and talking to them is incredible. What a win.
Yeah. It really does feel that way. Like, legitimately, it's like, oh man, let's just talk. Because I honestly feel like a lot of this, like, if I had just like, hey, want to just shoot the shit, it would have just been this.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So which is what I'm striving for the vibe of this. So yeah, but thank you again.